We're gonna get some of this XNIPEC salsa and a little bit of this other tomato-based salsa. When you can't decide which one to use, you use both. It's that simple, friends. In this video, I'm gonna share with y'all a special salsa recipe that I'll be trying for the first time, and it's got habaneros. Actually, I'm gonna be sharing 2 habanero salsa recipes in this video. One of them will be what I call a traditional South Texas style salsa with tomatoes, garlic, a little bit of onion. But we normally use serranos and or jalapenos. Today, we're gonna be using habaneros for this salsa. Now, the other salsa we're gonna make today, we're gonna make it first because this one is raw ingredients that'll be mixed together and it needs a little time in the fridge to meld all those flavors together. And that salsa is a Mayan salsa called XNIPEC. This is a traditional salsa from the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, and it's made up of just a few simple ingredients. And if you're wondering what XNIPEC translates to, it simply means dog's nose. You know, if you ever seen a dog's nose when he sweats, his nose gets all wet. But that's why this is a playful nod to the dog's nose. It's XNIPEC means watery nose. So we're gonna make Carnitex's nose watery today with this salsa. Now, like I said, our salsa XNIPEC is gonna need about an hour or 2 in the fridge to come together before we dig in. And that's just enough time to grill up some loaded beef ribs. So in this video, I'm also gonna share with you a quick, easy, and delicious recipe for one of my favorite cuts of ribs. And yep, you guessed it, we'll be digging into our salsas alongside with these juicy ribs. All right, long introduction, so let's get started and make our salsa XNIPEC. I hope I said that correctly. And speaking of habanero salsas, I've got a third recipe for a delicious, creamy habanero salsa, which you can find in my cookbook. It's Carnitex. There's over 100 recipes of comida casera, Mexican-American style cooking, Texas style barbecue, and at least 20 recipes of salsas. I know you guys all love salsa as much as I do. So hit that link in my description to grab you a copy or purchase one wherever books are sold. We're gonna use a little glass bowl here to put the ingredients in. And basically, I'm gonna use 3 habaneros. I really like these that I have here today. They're nice and big. Now, I'm not wearing gloves. If you do have sensitive skin, make sure you wear gloves. Mine are calloused from being around the fire all the time. And basically what you want to do is you want to take the habanero and cut it real fine like this. And if you want to tone the heat down a little bit more, take out the seeds and the stems, okay? Now for me, I'm going to leave them in there. Now, if you're inside your kitchen, you may want to open the windows, get a little ventilation also. It will create a very, very hot environment in your kitchen. It will get into your nose, and it might make your eyes a little bit watery too. So remember, habanero was the original super hot chile till they started to make all these other ones like ghost pepper and scorpion and all that other stuff. Those are like, wow, even way too hot for me. I think I'm a habanero level kind of guy, and I do occasionally get a little bit of ghost pepper on a salsa or a bottle. I really don't mess with it at home. I just buy it already in salsa, hot salsa or something like that. All right, we've got all of our habanero all diced up. Let's go ahead and get that in here. Be very careful whether you're using gloves or not. You do not want to touch your nose because it will burn, guaranteed. Next up, we're going to take a couple of these purple onions, and you want that to be really fine. If you have a mandolin, that probably makes the job a little bit easier. When you get down to the end, to the last couple of slices, slow your knife down and be very careful. You don't want to cut yourself. Ask me how I know. All right, we're gonna dump some of these onions in here. Now in the Yucatan Peninsula, where this recipe comes from, they use what's called bitter oranges. So basically they're an orange, but it's kind of bitter. It's not sweet like the oranges that we've got here today. And they're very hard to find, even here in South Texas. Once in a while, I'll see them in a store. So what we tend to do here is we're gonna use a fresh orange and a little bit of lime to add that little bit of tartness that you get with the orange. And this is basically about a cup. You guys know I don't always measure everything exact, but you should have, for this recipe here, 3 habaneros and 2 purple onions. You should have about a cup of orange juice. I do prefer fresh oranges for this. They just taste better, number 1. Number 2, they have more of the enzymes. They have more acid to break down the onion and the habaneros. And I don't know about y'all, but I will eat the rest of this orange off camera here in a little bit. All right, now for the lime, it should be about a half a cup. In my opinion, if you like it a little more tart, you can use a whole cup. Now on the limes, I do prefer to measure them in the cup because some of them are always juicier than others, and some limes are really dry. I'm sure everybody's experienced that as well. Now, how many of you guys know the secret to good limes? The secret to good limes is you want to try and find skin that's soft and smooth. When it has that rough finish. It's not quite ripe enough yet. They tend to be smooth like this and a little bit of yellow like this. You know you're gonna have a pretty ripe lime. Okay, so we got lime juice. Let's get the lime juice in here. Now you can put the pulp in there if you want. I prefer to leave it out, but if you like it, you can. All right, next up, we're gonna use a teaspoon. That's 1 whole teaspoon of Mexican oregano. And oregano, you always want to get it and basically pulverize it with your hands. You want it to be a fine powder. That just brings out all the flavor. And I probably should have got a little more than a teaspoon because I lost a little bit with the wind here. All right, now we're also gonna use 2 teaspoons of salt, pepper, garlic. The original recipes in general always have pepper and always have salt. I do like a little garlic pretty much in everything. I don't know if y'all know this, but garlic is a superfood. If you didn't know, now you know. So 2 teaspoons, did I put 2 or 3? I think I got 2. I'm stirring this up a little bit. I wanna make sure that I get the salt, pepper, garlic blended in there really well. I wanna make sure that the habanero peppers blend with the onion. You get it all mixed up really good there. When we come back with this salsa out of the refrigerator, you're gonna see that it's gonna have even more juice than what it went in with because the salt is gonna pull some of the moisture out of that onion. Y'all know onions are like pure water almost. So I'm gonna cover this up, take it over there into my refrigerator. I'll be right back with my beef ribs. Now I promised an easy recipe for beef ribs, and here it is. This is what we call around here loaded ribs. This is actually a whole rack of 3-bone monster ribs, AKA plate ribs or 123A ribs, depending on what rancho your butcher's from. These ribs are cut across the bone, which makes them easy to grill in a much shorter amount of time, and they are delicious. We don't need no binder today, so we're giving them a good pass with my wow and my brisket seasoning for a big old boom of flavor. And now, onto the grill we go. So I'm gonna get them in here, and I'm gonna set them in direct over here first for a little while, and we're gonna grill some salsa ingredients here shortly. So I'm gonna just take all these ribs right here. Ooh, listen to that sound. It's music to my ears, baby. We're gonna get these in here. Okay, we got all of our ribs in here. We're gonna let those kind of sit there and kind of slow cook. I'm gonna close the lid, and we'll be back in a little bit to get our salsa ingredients in here. Now we're at the 30-minute mark, and it's time to get our salsa ingredients on the grill. But before that, we need a little flippity flip on our loaded ribs. All right, I'm gonna get this onion on back here in the back, right over the fire, and I'm gonna lay these ingredients here. I've got my tomatoes here, I've got my onion right there, I've got my garlics right here. These are gonna go right over the fire here next to the tomatoes and the onion. Got my habanero peppers. Those are gonna cook really quick too. So we're gonna lay those right there close to the fire too. Hey friends, it's been 10 minutes. I think it's time to flippity flip those veggies. Let's check it out. Look at these habaneros. They're roasting really pretty. Woo-wee. The garlics are already done, so I'm gonna take those out. These are pretty much done. I'm gonna take them out too. Onion, I'm gonna flippity flip sideways like this so I can get some char. You see we've got some there, but I wanna get some all the way around. I'm just gonna roll the tomatoes over, like so. These take a little bit longer to cook because they have a lot of water, just like the onion. Time to get those tomatoes out. It's been another 5 minutes, and they are cooked and juicy. Look at that. Check that out, friends. And we're gonna get the onion too. It didn't quite get as soft, but I like to use all the little char part of the onion, and that's pretty much all we're gonna use. Now, while we're at it, I'm gonna go ahead and flip all these ribs over onto the fire here. And we're gonna go direct for about 20 minutes, and then we're gonna move them back again and just kind of let them ride. All right, we're gonna button it back up. Click, click, click. Let's make some salsa. I'm going to get my garlics in here first, and then I'm gonna get my tomatoes. They're still a little bit hot, so I'm using tongs. And let's get these habaneros in here, nice and toasty. All right, so I'm gonna slice some of this onion right here that got nice and roasted. Get this onion in here. Now, if you like more onion, you can put more onion. I like to put a little bit. I like to call that a little bit more of a balance. I like a balanced salsa. I don't want any one ingredient to overpower everything. And then we're also going to add a little more garlic and some salt, pepper, garlic. And this is gonna be, I'm gonna call it about 1.5 teaspoons, more or less. That should be just about right. Now, that might seem like a lot for this blender, but remember, that's not just salt. That has pepper and garlic as well. So let's go ahead and give this a little pulse. Ooh, man. This is gonna be good. Doesn't take but about 30, 40 seconds. Done deal. However long that took. Let's get it into our little bowl here and give it a taste test. Ooh, baby, look at that. I ain't scared to taste it either. I might regret it, but good thing for me, I got a lot of ice cold Miller Lite in there. Let's give it a taste. Woo, woo, woo. That is super delicious. I can taste that fire roasted flavor in the tomato, you know, the char on the tomato, a little bit of char. That fire makes the tomato a little bit sweet. It makes the onion sweeter, so I can taste that fire roasted sweet onion. The garlic is just perfect for me. Then you have that little earthy flavor from the pepper. I mean, altogether, it's a very well-balanced salsa. I love it. This is like perfect on anything. This is really, really good. And it has a just right bite for me. I think it's gonna be a little bit hot for Mama Tex and Terry, but it's perfect for me. Makes me a good excuse to go get a beer. I'll make you one down. Boom. One more. That's good, man. The flavor is just like outstanding. It's been a total of an hour and a half that the ribs have been on there. I did flip them one time in between making salsa because remember they were grilling direct. Cut the air back out a little bit, but come take a look at these ribs. They're beautiful. And when you start to see the bones start to fall out, they're pretty much done. Look at that. What I'm gonna do now that I got a little char on them, I'm gonna go ahead and put them back over here indirect again. We got the color, we got the flavor that we wanted. I've got a little sausage here that my friend Danny Rodriguez brought over earlier this morning. Thank you, Danny. Came from Lockhart, Texas, where they make all the good stuff. They call it the barbecue capital of Texas. Look at that, isn't that pretty? Wow. All right, friends, we're going back to indirect for a little while. Look, see how that bone fell off? We're done. We're just gonna let them sit there for about maybe 10 more minutes. We're done. All right, friends, we just pulled our ribs. They smell and they look delicious. I wanted to share something with you guys, so let me ask y'all a question. Have you ever had or heard of a gin old fashioned? I follow a couple of guys online that make cocktails, and one guy, he's pretty big. He says that a lot of people say that the original old fashioned was a gin old fashioned. I've never heard that before. I've got a couple of bourbon books. I've never read that before either, but what's your opinion? What are your thoughts? Some of you guys have been bartenders for a long time. I've only been a bar patron and a cocktail drinker. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna show you how to make a gin old fashioned the Arnie Tex way. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some lemon peel here. Whoops. I'm gonna drop it on the bottom. I need 2 of them in there. I'm gonna set that aside, and I'm gonna need 1 more. Bear with me. There, we got a good one now. Perfect, that's what I needed. I'm gonna put just the tiniest of slivers of habanero in there. Now, nobody's ever done that one. That's my twist, okay? We're gonna take some orange bitters. I like the Angostura brand, so I'm gonna use that one. A couple of squirts, I should say, right? And we're gonna drop that in there. And then we're gonna add a little bit of blue agave. Normally you can use simple syrup or use whatever sweet stuff you like. This is only about half an ounce maybe at the most. You don't want it to be too sweet. Old fashions are not supposed to be super sweet. They're supposed to be just delicious. Now we need 2 ounces of Still Austin American gin. Okay, just a little more than 2 ounces. Okay, we're gonna drop a little bit of ice in here. Oh, that was more than I wanted, but it's already in there, so. We're gonna give it a little stir. So it's real simple, really. We're not smashing the lemon down there. My pretty lady here is handing me my cocktail glass. So we're gonna pour that in here over a beautiful crystal clear ice cube. I can smell that gin and the lemon. It smells fantastic, man. Really, really good. Remember I said we needed 1 more lemon peel here? So now we're just gonna go right around here like this and drop that in there. And because it broke in half, I'm gonna do it again with this one. Simple, quick, easy to make. I did not invent this drink, but I've made it a few times. This is a very refreshing drink. Oh, man. Man, I would say this is right up there with a regular old fashioned. It's that good, friends. we're gonna take some of this salsa, and remember how much liquid it had when it went into the refrigerator? Remember what I told you, that the salt was gonna bring out the moisture, the water from the onions? Let's give it a little toss here. This is gonna be super good. This has basically been in the refrigerator for about 2.5 hours, what it took us the time to cook these ribs. We're gonna take some of this habanero XNIPEC salsa. We're just gonna dress our ribs a little bit like this, right down the middle. Listen, friends, this would be a beautiful platter to make for your next carne asada, your next backyard barbecue. Heck, man, it'd be great just to make it for yourself. It freaking looks gorgeous. And I'm gonna take this one in the front because it is the prettiest one. And I'm just gonna take a knife right here and I'm gonna cut these ribs right there. And look at that, friends. I'm ready for that big bite. Oh, wow. For having had 3 habaneros, the bite isn't really that strong, but it's definitely there. You got that little hint of tart, lime, and a little hint of sweet from the orange juice. Wow. This is super delicious. I love the crunch from the onion. It's not super raw anymore because it kind of basically cooked, or whatever you call it, with the lime juice and the acid that they bring. So you got that little hint of sweet from the orange. You got a little bite from the habaneros and the crunch and the flavor of the onion as well. Not a super strong onion flavor, just a good, nice, well-balanced salsa. Honestly, I don't taste the oregano. Next time I'm gonna put another half a teaspoon of oregano because I think it adds a great flavor. But the salt, the pepper, the garlic, everything kind of brings together a nice, good, well-balanced flavor of this salsa. Highly recommend you guys give it a try. It's super good, friends. And don't forget, you can order my cookbook. It's Arnitex. There's over 100 recipes of comida casera, Mexican-American style cooking, Texas style barbecue, and at least 20 recipes of salsas. I know you guys all love salsa as much as I do. So get you some. There's a link in the description of this video. You can order that cookbook there or pick it up at your local bookstore. Cheers, my friends, and we'll see you guys at the next video. Boom! Come on now. Y'all didn't really think I was gonna get through a video without making a taco with this delicious stuff, did you? We're gonna get some of this XNIPEC salsa and a little bit of this other tomato-based salsa. When you can't decide which one to use, you use both. It's that simple, friends. Boom!